Learned that it was a 9-0 decision ruling that Donald Trump can be on the ballot in Colorado and other states.
I'm not confident that that will produce a result that's good for American democracy.
This is actually what I had been concerned about. I had been concerned that should it go to the Supreme Court, they would rule this way.
I'd laugh if it weren't so sad.
My next guest says Donald Trump is still an oath-breaking insurrectionist. Do you have confidence in the Supreme Court? Do you think this court is partisan?
The court itself may have overstepped.
The court went way further than it needed to go.
Our colleague Melissa Murray has called this Supreme Court the YOLO court.
The criticism of the court is that they're playing interference.
Not since Bush v. Gore have we seen a court that's had this many opportunities to interfere in the election.
The headline here is that this is a unanimous ruling, but if you scratch the surface just a little...
This is a 5-4 ruling on part of it.
This is actually a 5-4 decision.
It's 5-4.
Trump will take this, spin it, spread the misinformation, disinformation on it, so it's a win for them.
He's on the ballot, and voters will vote, and he looks like he's headed to become the Republican nominee for president.
You can't save a people from themselves. If they're determined to reelect him after he organized that insurrection, then there's nothing to stop the people from doing that.
What's going on, everyone? Sauce Queen here today. It's Super Tuesday. You know, Donald Trump got this ruling from the Supreme Court, and it seems like leftist media still harbor some hatred. They hate they're seething right now. You can hear it. You saw the intro. I hope you guys enjoyed the intro. I try to make it as funny as I could, because end of the day, these sore losers called the Democratic administration, they don't want to just let people decide for themselves who they want to elect or not. They believe that they should be allowed to dictate who you're allowed to vote for and who you're not allowed to vote for to protect democracy. And democracy in their translation is actually to protect our interest, to protect our power, to protect our control. This is the real language behind when you hear a Democrat open his mouth and say democracy, because everything they do is anti-democratic. Democracy is about for the people, by the people, of the people, by the people. Who of the people wanted Trump off the ballot? I'm waiting. If you even look at polls, no one looked at this favorably. Only Democrats looked at this favorably, and this is why it's a Democratic problem. Glenn Greenwald, sometimes there's moments in politics when you have to put humanitarian concerns first. And watching this, I'm honestly worried for the emotional well-being of cable TV liberals, devastated, not just by the fact that Trump can run, but that the SCOTUS ruling was unanimous. And you saw in the intro, they try to put this narrative that, well, it was barely 9-0 because it was technically a 5-4 decision. This is partisan because they believe that the SCOTUS went too far. And I'm like, yo, SCOTUS don't want to be involved because the Supreme Court justice, their role was to never create laws. And I blame these liberal judges long time ago in the 1972 when they created Roe v. Wade and they created some precedent that acted like a bill. That wasn't legislation. And now we get in this field, and it's so funny how all these liberals, when the Supreme Court do something that's in their favor, no issues, no criticism, no scrutiny. Minute the Supreme Court do something that's against their interest, all of a sudden it's illegitimate. We need to pack the courts. We need to put term limits on Supreme Court justices. Like, it's so partisan. It's not even funny anymore. Right. And in this next clip, I'm going to show you two contrasts. Ben Shapiro used to be a lawyer, so I will trust his view on this. And Ben Shapiro highlights 3 problems with their case about them putting supposedly trying Trump for at a state level.
My larger reaction is disappointment. I do believe that states should be able, under our Constitution, to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists. And ultimately, this decision leaves open the door for Congress to act to pass authorizing legislation. But we know that Congress is a nearly non-functioning body. So ultimately, it will be up to the American voters to save our democracy in November.
You can't just toss Donald Trump off a ballot for the presidency of the United States in a state like Colorado. You will recall that just a couple of months ago, the Supreme Court in Colorado decided that it was perfectly acceptable to invalidate Donald Trump on the ballot in Colorado in the primaries and the general because he was, quote unquote, an insurrectionist. The basic premise of their argument was really stupid. It was that because the Constitution of the United States bars from office insurrectionists, this means that the state government of Colorado can simply declare Trump an insurrectionist and then toss him off the ballot. That had a bunch of legal problems with it. Problem number one, how do you define insurrectionist? Problem number two, even if you were going to define insurrectionist, that would theoretically have to be done at the federal level, not the state level, because it's a federal piece of legislation. Problem number three, how do you even define it? In terms of which party defines it in the federal government? Is that done by some sort of elections board? Is it done by the legislature? How does it distinguish itself, the insurrectionist clause, from, say, issues with age? Because the state could theoretically throw someone off the ballot if they were not, say, 35 years old and running for president. They could say, this person is not eligible, they don't get listed on the ballot. But that would be pretty obvious from the federal language. That person's not allowed. Insurrectionist is a vague term of art.
It's so funny, like, and I've been looking on Twitter and I've been noticing people seething. These liberals are seething, and everyone seems to be focusing on Clarence Thomas. I don't understand why the left hate Clarence Thomas so much, but I guess liberals can't stand a black man disagreeing with them. You know, story of my life. And it's only like, this is the funny part, when black people get mad at me, oh, you talking white people talking points. I'm like, oh, how come it's be these same white liberals that's so mad that a black conservative exists? That a black conservative dare explain and agree with conservatives. You see it online. Everyone's talking about, oh, the insurrection sympathizer, Clarence Thomas, even though it's a 9-0 decision. You had 8 other judges, but you're focusing on Clarence Thomas. Why, liberal? Why? Like, imagine that. Like, imagine that. Like, look, imagine the double speak. These people aren't tolerant people. They don't tolerate anything that goes against their narrative. Keith Olbermann out here spazzing out. I don't understand. I do not understand, right? And I like the language from the lady, right? Because you saw Ben Shapiro just shredded all this. It's subjective. If it's subjective, it cannot be applied to law. We all need to be clear what murder is to try someone for murder. Legitimate threat of insurrection happening with January 6th. January 6th at most was a riot. That's at most. It did less damage than BLM. Where's the left talking about that? Where's the left making comparisons about that? When they do it, kid gloves. When we do it, oh, no holds barred, no, zero tolerance. My argument is always going to stay the same. Either it applies for both or applies to nobody. The minute you can, like, this is my whole problem with the left. If you can't do it to your own house, do not do it when it's politically expedient to call it out on the other side. When January 6th happened, conservatives called it out as bad and liberals called it out as bad. When BLM was happening, only conservatives were calling it out as bad. And then the liberals try to play around like saying, oh, this is partisan, because you're not being common sense about it. And this is where I'm saying these kind of things kind of highlight the fracturing of our culture. And in this, and with the lady in the beginning, how these people really think they really treating us like children. The government really sees us as, no, you're just a servant, you're just a slave. You're supposed to do what we want you to do. You're not supposed to go past this fence. Well, I'm a free human being, ain't I? Ain't I allowed to go past the fence? Ain't I allowed to vote for Donald Trump, regardless of my skin color? And this is why I'm talking about that Democrats play. This is why I'm saying that Democrats play plantation politics. This is plantation politics. You're not allowed to be here or else. You're not allowed to go back to the fence. This is why I say I equate black conservatives as runaway slaves. But essentially, the Democrat Party wants to play the big house. That's the White House, right? And they're supposed to take care of you. They take care of you from cradle to grave. But they get the benefit of your labor, aka taxes, right? Your vote, doing minimum or barely anything for you. How is that any different than the physical plantations that Democrats had you back in the day? Make it make sense. And then when black conservatives say, oh, we left the Democrat plantation, black Democrats want to get mad. But they're the biggest one that smear us for thinking differently. Vivek's going to highlight some concerns he had about this 9-0 ruling. He agrees with the 9-0 ruling, but he believes that this is a setup to something further down the road. Let's take a look.
Vivek Ramaswamy is with us. Let's get your initial reaction, sir.
Look, this is a case about national unity, and I think the Supreme Court absolutely ruled in the right way, answering the question, really, are we one nation or not? The Supreme Court held yes, because the heart of the decision was about whether we can have a patchwork framework where certain states decide who's on the ballot, other states decide a different person's on the ballot for U.S. president. That doesn't work if we're one nation. So that's what this case was really about. I thought President Trump did a great job.
And I also want to highlight the whole, states can decide who's on their ballot or not. The insurrection clause is a federal issue. So even on its face, which is something Ben Shapiro brought out, I probably just forgot, it's not based on any logic or fact. It's just them rationalizing their politicized attack, their legal warfare. That's all this has been. Even the liberals, the mainstream media liberal reaction to all this. How they're trying to say, oh yeah, on paper it's 9-0, but technically it's 5-4 because of this. Insert rationale here. And this, it kind of bring into the forefront what Vivek's been highlighting a lot, is that we have a lack of national unity. We don't see each other as one country. We see each other as like warring factions trying to get control of power. That's what's going on right now. When Ben Shapiro was highlighting, hey, what is an insurrection? Can you define it? Can you define how your jurisdiction is able to do this? And do you actually have the jurisdiction to do this? This lady in the clip you saw before I showed the Ben clip, she's talking about, oh, I believe states should have the right. No, you believe that states have the right and power because you're in power right now. You want the right to decide who your voters are allowed to vote for or not. She kind of exposed herself. She tried to say the quiet part out loud. Hey, we believe states have the power because we're in power and we want to do this thing. So we want to justify doing this thing. Therefore, I agree with this position. They want to pick and choose when the position applies to them. They don't have any principles. This is one thing. If you want a reason why not to vote Democrat, I believe this whole situation, how they're reacting to this decision, is the best case scenario why they shouldn't be. You shouldn't vote Democrat in 2024. Because these people, when they talk about threat to democracy, they're not trying to protect democracy. They're just trying to protect their own interest, their own power of control. When they're fighting for illegal immigration, it's not because they're actually looking out for the illegals themselves. It's because they see the illegals as them smuggling in Democrat votes to solidify further their power, to grow their consensus so they have more congressional seats. This is how the Democrat Party views the illegal immigrants. They view them like slaves. Hey, I want to take advantage of them. I want to take advantage of their labor. I want to take advantage of their vote. I wanted to take advantage of the moral capital that I can leverage them for to push my own ends. Democrats never do anything unless they get something in return for it. And this is what I'm trying to tell black people, but black people don't want to listen to me because I think differently than them. But in the same breath, this is they learned this from their democratic, their liberal mindset that got passed down to them by their constituents. They have cognitive dissonance. In one breath, you're going to say black people are not a monolith. Then you run into a black person who don't think like you, and you're going to call him a coon. Oh, he's trying to kiss up to white people. I'm an American. This is all I know. I don't know anything else. This is my country. Just like in Haiti, people they're proud they come from Haiti. Just like in Jamaica, they're proud they came from Jamaica. I'm proud to be from America. I'm proud to be born in this country. And to have people come in my country and try to ish on it, I'm not going to tolerate that. And I think Americans need to stop tolerating this blatant expose. Like, it's like a mask off moment at this point. Democrats only care about power. Democrats only care about control. And they try to use morality to mask it. This is the true motive. But I digress. I ran up a little bit too much.
That press conference and that discussion he held afterwards, speaking about national unity, I think that's the heart of this case. I was with President Trump earlier today, and I do think that this is not just about President Trump, but about the future unity of our country itself. And the Supreme Court 9-0 came down on the right side of that question. And I do think that's a step forward, Sean. I don't think this should have ever gone to the Supreme Court. But the fact that it is shows how far we've fallen. But at the same time, the fact that they came out on the right side of it unanimously is a good step for this country.
What did you make in the concurring opinions of the three liberal justices and also that of Amy Coney Barrett, who said the court has settled a politically charged issue in the volatile season of a presidential election? Quote, particularly in this circumstance, writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. For present purposes, our differences are far less important than unanimity in this case. All 9 justices agree that on the outcome of this case.
Yeah, and then you saw in the intro also that a lot of these Democrats and these liberal talking heads, these liberal pundits are saying, oh, they were scared to actually do something controversial. Yes, because Democrats, they don't care when they break precedent. Oh, hey, back in the day when Obama was president, you needed 60 votes to put a justice in place. Then what Obama and the Democrats decided to do, because they had the power in 2012, I believe. Oh, let's just remove the filibuster and simple majority will allow us to put a Supreme Court justice into play. That's how they got Sotomayor in. Okay, boom, they do it. Then Mitch McConnell came out, you will regret this. Mark my words, you will regret this. You will regret doing this. An administration later, Trump gets in. Democrats crying, oh my God, we should put back the filibuster because now it benefits them to have the filibuster in there. This is bruh, to be good at politics, all you have to do is pay attention. Have a good memory. And this is what these people expect you to do. This is why they push so much information in your face. So you start forgetting, oh, look, watch this hand and you don't see what I'm doing with my other hand. This is the kind of misdirection that the mainstream media does. They hit you with so much information, so much stories, all this stuff, that you get memory hold. You focus on the more recent thing and you don't remember how it got, what led to the outcome that arrived to get this certain outcome, this certain result that happened right in front of you. And I think that's the biggest problem we have in our country right now.
That is the message Americans should take home. That was usually justices will not acknowledge political circumstances surrounding a particular case. She did go there. Your reaction to that?
I think Amy Coney Barrett's actual one-page concurrence was useful. Now, if you want to go a layer deeper, Sean, and you're asking about this, what do I see in that concurrence? What you actually see is they said, okay, the states can't do this, but the federal government could do it. Even actors in the federal government outside of Congress. So you want to read the subtext of this. What I think is happening is the court is buying themselves some political latitude to say there's going to be other Trump-related cases that come before the Supreme Court now. So what you see from the liberal justices is saying that 3 of them did swing over for a 9-0 unanimous ruling here. But they say other actors in the federal government, even outside of Congress, could have had that authority anyway. I think they're buying themselves some leash for going in a different direction in some of those other cases, including the presidential immunity case now making its way up to the Supreme Court next month as well.
I kind of agree with that synopsis as well. I think they're doing this to buy themselves some credibility, saying, hey, look, we're not partisan. Look, we voted 9-0 against this. So now you can't get mad at us when we vote against the immunity case with Trump, right? So I know there's a lot of games going on. I think Vivek's alluding to the fact that, hey, Supreme Court kind of left open the legitimacy of other bureaus going after Trump and all this stuff. But, hey, all this is all mere speculation. I think I'm done kind of highlighting the kind of hypocrisy of the left that they complain threat to democracy. But I think in this video, I kind of hit home the point that it's not about democracy. It's just merely a cover to hide their political motives. That's all this threat to democracy nonsense is. It's just a catchphrase. It's a way of trying to disarm more centrist, more politically low information voters from actually looking too deeply into what Democrats actually are doing, right? And this is banana Republican type stuff, the banana Republic type stuff. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What your thoughts about it? How you guys are reacting to the hysteria from the leftist media? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.